So welcome everyone. My name is Jeannie Duffy and I am the Executive Director of Serve Wisconsin. On behalf of myself and the Serve Wisconsin team, I would like to welcome everyone to our first ever virtual opening ceremony. Serve Wisconsin is the state commission for national and community service. Our mission is to promote service, provide training, and allocate resources to programs that enrich lives and communities through service and volunteerism. We achieve this mission primarily through our work with AmeriCorps programs and AmeriCorps members throughout the state of Wisconsin. As a service alumna, I understand the emotions many of you might be experiencing. I remember the first days of my years of service in the southeast side of Chicago, the excitement of meeting new people who were also interested in service, the apprehension of living and working in an unfamiliar city, the courage it took to defy expectations by not taking a traditional job after college, the worry that this might all be a colossal mistake, and then what would I tell my family and friends? It turned out, however, to be the best decision. I completed my first year of service and then went on to do 4 more years of service, the last 3 in Guatemala. And I'm here to tell you, you also made the right choice, even in these uncertain times. I especially want to express my gratitude to all of you who have stepped up to serve in these uncertain times. Your willingness to serve when perhaps it was not clear whether you would be serving virtually or in person, or even if you had an exact position description, is a testament to your inner goodness, flexibility, ingenuity, and ability to get things done, all traits of successful AmeriCorps members. Due to COVID-19, most of you are facing the challenges of trying to make human connections virtually, which we know is not easy, but at the same time, people need the human connection and support now more than ever. The nationwide Black Lives Matter movement, while not new to many, is raising our nation's consciousness around systemic racism, highlighting many of the issues members have been trying to correct for years, such as the education achievement gap and access to healthcare. This attention can be positive if more people are willing to correct their actions and devote the needed financial resources. At the same time, I also recognize it is still a fight that needs to be fought, and all fights can be tiring, physically, mentally, and spiritually. It can also be demoralizing when you spend the day working to counter the effects of systemic racism and public figures are loudly denying the issue. To help support you in the fight to end systemic racism, Serve Wisconsin is offering a year-long racial justice training. The racial justice training will provide a historic background to racism, how it affects people of color and white people today, opportunities to reflect on our own beliefs and actions, and steps we can all take in the journey to end racism. And before I introduce our first speaker, I would like to thank the Serve Wisconsin staff, Kyle Clower, Tracy Brent, and Alexis Matthews, who organized this great event. Although I was told by one of my children, if it's a Zoom event, it's not a great event. So thank you all for attending one more Zoom event today, and I hope you do enjoy it because we have tried to make it impactful and meaningful for you. But now to introduce our first speaker, Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Congresswoman Gwen Moore is the first African-American elected to Congress from the state of Wisconsin. She's also an AmeriCorps Vista alumna. She has represented Wisconsin's 4th congressional district since 2004. Her advocacy and work ethic are a model for all AmeriCorps members. She is a strong advocate for measures that focus on improving the economic and employment conditions in low-income communities. A champion for women, she is a leader on issues like health insurance reform, women's health, maternal and infant mortality, and domestic violence. She has led the charge to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act over the past 2 Congresses. She has also been an outspoken opponent of efforts to limit women's reproductive freedom and care. She is also, as I mentioned earlier, an AmeriCorps Vista alumna. As a Vista volunteer, she spearheaded the startup of a community credit union to serve those shut out of traditional banks. For her efforts, she earned the National Vista Volunteer of the Decade Award in 1976 and 1986. And now a video message from Congresswoman Moore.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and I'm so happy to be speaking with you again after joining the opening ceremony and 25th anniversary of AmeriCorps last year in Milwaukee. So I so wish I could be there in person to help you launch your year of service. Thank you to the AmeriCorps members for committing to serving, especially this year, to make a difference for others. You know, in my Vista service, our slogan was, if we can't find a way, we will make a way. You know, we organized a community development credit union from scratch to meet the needs of a community that didn't have access to fair credit. And it really changed the course of life for me and my community in terms of getting credit that was fair. This year, you will be dedicating the next year to your service. It won't be easy under these circumstances. You're going to face challenges. But what you will do will be meaningful to your local communities and to yourselves. I encourage you to take this experience and use it to develop a lifetime of commitment to making a difference for others and to our nation. Take up that old slogan of ours. If you can't find a way, if there's no way made, you're going to make a way. Go out there and get things done this year. You are an AmeriCorps volunteer.
Thank you, Congresswoman Moore, for those exciting and encouraging words. My name is Tracy Brent, and I'm part of the Serve Wisconsin team. And in a minute here, I'm going to break us out into some little breakout groups and do a short little icebreaker to help us get to know each other a little bit better. First, what I want you to do is to introduce yourself. What's your name? What program are you serving with? And what activities will you be doing during your service? Then I want everyone in your breakout group to find 5 things that you all have in common. And so some quick, easy ones that you can't use are you're all AmeriCorps members and you all serve in Wisconsin. When you're done, please put your 5 common things in the chat box, and we're going to put them together and send them out at a later time.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that brief time to chat. I know it's totally different being in a virtual setting versus in person, but we do hope you found that at least valuable to chat with some other people serving in other parts of the state and doing other types of service. So I'll look forward to reading the different things you all have in common. You all like mac and cheese. I saw that one. That's fun. That was probably a really great group. So my name is Alexis Matthews. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a staff member with Serve Wisconsin. I'm also an AmeriCorps alum. I served in AmeriCorps in 2007, 2008 at Habitat for Humanity in Jacksonville, Florida. Since then, service has really been a part of my life. So doing a lot of nonprofit and other various AmeriCorps types things since 2007. So I am here with the distinct pleasure of introducing to you another Alexis. Alexis Dean served as an AmeriCorps member with Schools of Hope AmeriCorps Project in 2018-2019. During and immediately after his term, he won AmeriCorps Member of the Year in Wisconsin's Governor Service Awards, and he also won Most Impactful AmeriCorps Member Experience, which is an award that comes directly from AmeriCorps' federal level. For that award, Alexis was actually one of only 2 individuals and 3 AmeriCorps programs nationwide that was honored for their service. So he was invited to Washington, D.C. and to accept his award, and very true to Alexis's style, he rapped his acceptance speech in front of 350 people. Since then, Alexis has gone on to do a lot. So he's currently a Manny for a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. He is also a board member for the Adult and Children Grief Camp, which is called Camp Hope. He is producing a video series for Madison Public Library right now. It's encouraging students to read by retelling popular children's stories with hip hop music. So some of these have already been released. The 3rd one is being released today. I saw it posted today. It is retelling of the Very Hungry Caterpillar. And actually one of the authors already reached out to him. So it's a really neat series if you get a chance and want to check it out. He is also working on a sequel to his album. The first one was called Black Tears and Smiles, and it released in April of this year. So I'm also very thankful to call Alexis a friend, and I'm so honored to be able to get to be the one that introduces him. But now, here's a video from Alexis.
All right, let's get it. All right, hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me, thumbs up. Just kidding. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexis Dean, and I served with the AmeriCorps as a Schools of Hope literacy tutor and tutor coordinator in Madison, Wisconsin. But I think what made my service unique is the fact that I didn't just do what was expected of me throughout my year. I also was a camp counselor. I made music with the kids and music videos with the kids. I hosted DJ events for different schools, a bunch of different things basically. But I think what made it unique is also the thing that could make your service unique too. Insert yourself into your service 100%. So whatever you are passionate about, whatever you love to do, don't forget those things as you're serving. Things that you feel can be beneficial for community building or serving others. See if your directors are okay with you trying to do these different things to help. You are currently surrounded by a bunch of people who are curious, who are innovative, who are motivated, who are passionate about other people. So there's no one way to do that. Don't forget about you. Don't forget about what you love to do. And don't forget that this is about having fun. You should be having a bunch of fun right now. Things are looking very different than what they looked like when I served. I hope you guys are doing whatever it takes to be beneficial for people who need you. Because a lot of people need you, they need your smiles, and they need your brilliance. Think about what you want to do after your time. So there's different tools that you have right now. You can be talking to your directors and different people who are in charge, asking them for resources, asking them questions that you feel really could help you if they're answered. And maybe they can bring someone in to speak to you guys, or they could help you with different books or different things that you need. There's a bunch of different members who are around the country. Some of them are in the same position as you or have a year that they already have served. Use this time to connect with the people who are around you within your community, or people who are just members just like you trying to learn and trying to figure out life. I had a bunch of fun serving as a AmeriCorps member, and I think you can have a bunch of fun too. Just make it your way, make it unique, and show the world what you got. All right, that's enough for you guys in my house. See ya!
I'm a scholar and it's plain to see. And you're a scholar, you don't have to look the same as me. Every day I want to show my black excellence. Maybe one day I can even be the president.
President, huh? I can see that being you, because you're always...
Hello. I hope you all enjoyed that video from Alexis. The quality on my end was not the great at the beginning. The sound and pictures weren't quite matching up. So we will, if it happened the same for you, if it wasn't my connection, we are definitely going to post these videos on our Facebook and Twitter feed. And I hope if the quality wasn't great for you, you can check them out there. But I want to thank Alexis for that uplifting message. And I hope you guys all take a moment to reflect on your unique abilities and what you bring to service and how it can help amplify and, enhance your service this year. But now to introduce our keynote speaker is Jeremy Triblett. Jeremy is an AmeriCorps alum who served with Public Allies and currently works as a consultant and national trainer for business professionals on youth development and staff management and human relations. In his role as a leadership development and youth engagement consultant, he uses evidence-based practices and emerging research to build the competency of direct service, management level, and executive staff. He is a proud AmeriCorps alum of Public Allies, as I mentioned before, and as such is the ideal trainer and facilitator of our year-long racial justice training, as he understands the joys and challenges of AmeriCorps service. Welcome, Jeremy.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's nice to be here with you all. Thank you all for for having me this morning, and I'm excited to share something with you all. I want to recycle a message that I used for Public Allies Milwaukee during their graduation. I think that as service members, we all show up with the heart of service, and I want to share this message with you all. Why? Because I think it's important for the whole state to begin to hear and consider, what does it mean for us to build communities with our brick and with our sword? And so for me, it all begins with an ancient story about a guy who lived in a palace, and he drank the wine before the king did. He enjoyed privileges. He had access to everything he could ever imagine. And every day he got up, he got out of his bed, he stood next to the king. And before the king drank, he drank the cup first. This guy put his life on the line for the king, you see. You see, he was indebted to his government and his kingdom. But one day, we find out, not only did this guy have a job with the king, but he also had empathy for his people. One day, his brothers come to town and they tell him, they say, hey, listen, son, the people that you love, the people that you have empathy for, they are over in their land and they are struggling, they are desolate, and they want to rebuild their own protection and their own wall. And he did something this morning that I believe all of us, because we're in service, we do as well. He empathized with other people. I want you to understand something here is you can't do this work and serve Wisconsin really well if you're not willing to empathize for other people. If you're not willing to put yourself in their shoes in order to serve well, then you'll find yourself thinking you're a savior instead of serving. I want to make this announcement. I don't know if you know this or not, but there are no saviors here. Okay, we got to take off our cape. We are not super person, superwoman, superman, super they. We are human beings, and we show up broken as well. And so I want to encourage us that as we think about service this morning, I want to compare you to this cupbearer. And I want to let you know that the first thing he did was he showed empathy, and he decided that he would begin to serve, not save. There are no saviors here. So the first thing he does is he goes and he uses resources. Many of you all this morning have influence, privilege, resources, and those things may be amplified because you're a part of Serve Wisconsin. And so he went to the king that he worked for. He risked his job. Somebody told me they were tired of allies. They were looking for accomplices. Folks who were in this work who were willing to risk all of their comfort, risk all of their conveniences for the well-being of other communities. And so he went over there to his king and he risked his own job, you see. And he said to the king, listen, I'm going to need some help from you in order to serve this community the way that they want served. That king looked at him because he was a man of service, and he said, listen, I'm going to give you 3 things that you're going to need in order to do your job well. He said, I'm going to give you some resources, I'm going to give you some time, and I'm going to give you some access. I'm excited this morning because when you join one of these Serve Wisconsin organizations, you get time, you get resource, you get access. He said, listen, cupbearer, I want you to go to that community, and I want you to take your time to serve. I want you all to understand something this morning, that this work around racial justice, around community building, is not something that is short term. Even if you began it this year as a part of one of those Serve Wisconsin organizations, you have to remember that it's a lifelong journey. You got all your time to make sure that justice is accomplished, to make sure that equity is seen in communities. And it does not start and begin with the program. No, it continues all the way through your life. So he said, I give you time. And he was excited. He said, okay, but what about those resources? What do you mean, King? What about that resource? And he said, listen, I have access to different places and spaces that already has what you need to build your community. And so I'm going to give you the resources from other places to bring to them to where you need them to be in order to do what it is you need to do. Oh boy, some of you all right now, you are in new places, but you all have access to things that that community may need. I want to encourage you. As a matter of fact, I want to challenge you to use your resources. Stop sitting around assuming that you don't have it, you can't do it, you don't know anybody. Most of us are not suffering from lack of access and resources. Most of us are suffering from lack of motivation to find the resource. We don't have any excuses left, y'all. We aren't going to waste any of our time. We're going to figure out how to figure it out. Okay, so he said, I'm going to give you resources. You got time, you got resource, and you got access. The king gave him a letter. And the letter said, anywhere he went, because they knew who he was working for, he was invited. I want to submit to you all this morning that because you wear that badge of AmeriCorps on your chest or on your arm, you show up with a badge that represents access. Folks get access to you, and you get access to them to serve. So this brother, he left the king's palace. He left his comfort. He was about to stop just crying about the problem as an ally, and he was about to start serving the community as an accomplice. He gets down to the community and he does something that I'm so proud of, y'all. Before he says anything, listen to me, before he says anything to anybody else, the first thing he does is examines the problem for himself. One night he got on a horse. And I like to believe it was in the middle of the night. Everybody else was asleep. Nobody even knew he was there. And he rode that horse around the destructive places in that community. You see, they wanted to build a wall. That wall represented justice, protection, community, and unity. And he realized it was broken. He felt empathy. So now he's educating himself on the problem. You see, there's no room for willful ignorance. We don't have time for folks to sit back and say, I don't understand. Nope. Serve Wisconsin has created an entire 7-month-long process for you to actually get educated on the issues of racial justice. So now you all got a chance to get on your own horse and take your own journey to understand the issue without an excuse. He does this. He looks at the wall and he notices all the places where it is broken. And he realizes that number one, the wall is a reflection of himself. That where this wall of justice and equity is broken in community, it is also broken in us. I show up this morning as a cis hetero normative male Christian. I have power and privilege, even though I can also be targeted as a Black male at the expense of women and LGBTQAI+ individuals. And so I recognize that I carry my own biases, interpersonal, about other people. I carry my own behaviors that I don't maybe even recognize oppress other folks. And as I look at my community and I find all the places where we can start building, I have to remember that I've contributed to some of the destruction. Oh, it's going to be important for us to take ownership for how we contribute to the oppression of other people, especially if we show up with privileges ourselves. So he does this work. He looks at the wall. He looks at it. And I like to say, he didn't just look at the broken places, but there's something called a radical imagination. He reimagined the broken places whole. That's important. You see, as a Serve Wisconsin member, your imagination for a better world has to come from out of your head into your reality. Listen to me clearly. We aren't just dreaming here or having conversations. Y'all, we're doing the work. And we're saying we want to create the world of equity and inclusion, and we want to do it in our lifetime. And I believe that if we all work together as a part of Serve Wisconsin across the state, we can actually do that work faster. Why? Because we showed up, we were clear about the issue, we have radical imagination, and we're deciding we're going to serve and not act like a savior. So now he understands the issue. He recognizes that it's a reflection of his own issues and that he has to hold himself accountable. After he does that, y'all, he goes and he collects folks he can work with. Can I tell you a secret? That this work is not done alone. That there are no I's and me's, but only we's and us's. Can I tell you a secret? That if you were looking to get famous, you're in the wrong work. If you want to be Instagram famous or you want a whole bunch of likes on Facebook, you're in the work for the wrong reasons. Can I tell you a secret? That the real accomplices, nobody even knows. Oh man, I'm about to hit somebody where it hurts. You see, the people who are really doing the work, they're not looking for their names and likes. They're looking for an opportunity on the streets. And so he looks and he says, I need some folks to help me out. So he finds people, and everybody that he finds, watch this, this is important, they work in the spaces and places where their abilities allow. Oh man, I like to say it like this. You got to find your lane and get in it. So there's no duplication. He said, listen, I want you over there and you over here. I want you all to work in parallel, but I don't want you all to duplicate. There's enough work to be done when it comes to racial justice that we can actually do our work from where we are, knowing that we are working in tandem and parallel with folks across the state. That's a beautiful thing. We get a whole state power, not just a community power. I want to tell you something. There may be some white folks on the call right now, and you live in a small community somewhere in Wisconsin, and you're a little nervous because you recognize that you don't really know anybody in your community who wants to do this work, or maybe you feel like you're the only one doing this work. I want to encourage you that you are part of the statewide Serve Wisconsin family. And that this training calendar that we'll be engaged in month after month will put you in community with folks who won't allow you to give up and who won't allow you to make excuses because you may be the only one. There's going to be opportunities through reflection journals and application videos for you to find ways to start conversations. You may not be able to facilitate a march, but at least you can raise awareness. I'm telling you, start where you are with what you have according to your ability. So everybody does. They get in line. They find some work to do. And lo and behold, we've seen it already on the news. We know what's going to happen. There's going to be some folks who show up who say, I don't like it. For whatever reason. Maybe it's political, maybe it's ideological, maybe it's historical, I don't know. Some folks are looking at Serve Wisconsin today and going, I can't stand when they show up. They're all about that service. They're looking at equity. It doesn't make me comfortable. I want to be comfortable. Some folks are even going to go so far as to erase the work we've done so far. And I want to encourage you all this morning and let you know that not only did they build with a brick, but they also protected what they were building with a sword. Oh, this part is important. This part is important. If you don't remember anything else I say this morning, I want you to remember that you got to protect your progress. You have to look at this work as a collective, and then you have to say, how am I going to make it sustainable? You have to protect your progress. You have to protect your progress. Listen to me. I'll give you an example of protecting your progress, right? So Wisconsin has been doing work for years in acknowledging that race is an issue. We've been declared the worst place to raise a Black child and all of these other things for years, right? That is the building blocks. That is a brick, doing something to at least acknowledge. But when Governor Evers declared it a public health crisis, that was a sword. You see, the public health crisis declaration says to us that we're going to have to protect the reality that we know we have a race problem in Wisconsin. And when we make that declaration, we pull everybody in line to say, we're going to do the work. I'll give you another example. Let's go to La Crosse, right? La Crosse actually started to acknowledge that it was what we call a sundown town. What that means is, back in the day, When Black folks used to ride through towns, or Asian folks, or Native American folks, or Latinx folks used to drive through certain towns, they used to explicitly and implicitly say that they were not welcome. And the idea here is that La Crosse was one of those towns in Wisconsin, yep, up north, yep, where people of color were not welcome. And if they were smart about it, they'd get out of town before the sun went down. Well, I want you to understand something. The mayor of that town just recently, in the last 3 years, he said, listen, we recognize, here's the brick, that we're a sundown town. But then he pulled out a sword and he began to pull in researchers and say, we're going to do the work and establish even some racial equity boards across the entire town so that we can make sure we repair the harm. That's protecting what we're trying to build. I'll give you another example. Milwaukee County. We recognize in Milwaukee County that race is a public health crisis as well. Declared it. Yes, that's what it is. And then they brought me in to do an entire staff retreat, 2 days. This is what we did for 2 days. And we created objectives for the next 3 years on how we are going to start addressing the fact that race plays a role in the health of individuals. I want you to understand during that retreat, we planned and we facilitated and we grappled with things across the entire county of Milwaukee. Why? Because we want to protect the progress we're trying to make. And so when they began to build, they saw their haters, they saw their opposition, and they found a way to not only educate themselves, not only reflect on themselves, but they began to apply that by protecting it. Can I tell you something? During this racial justice training calendar, there's going to be a continuous learning process. You get a chance to get educated monthly. After each training, you'll get a reflection journal with activities, conversations started, hard questions to reflect on, and you can use that in partnership with other people if you want to. The point is that you look at your own broken places, you hold yourself accountable, and you reflect on how you've contributed to racial justice or not. But after that, I'll be bringing in individuals during our application videos to come and talk about how they've done this work in real time. Individuals who understand what it means to be a white accomplice. Individuals who understand what it means to use history to make decisions about their current reality. And we're going to talk to them. And after each training, when you get done with your reflection journals, you'll get a chance to see how other folks have been applying this understanding to themselves. So, it's important that we remember, we show up to communities with the lens of service, not a savior. We show up and we recognize and we see where the issues are, and we use radical imagination to offer solutions. We build with other people, making sure that we don't step on nobody's toes. We don't duplicate efforts, but that we use our individual strengths to build racial equity. And lastly, we keep our sword in hand. We're not just thinking about how to be educated. We're not just thinking about what the issues are, but we're saying if we make progress, we're going to make them sustainable. And we're going to protect them so that can't nobody come and destroy that progress we've made. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for listening to me. Hopefully you found something beneficial in this conversation we've been having.
And then thank you so very much, Jeremy. So do you want to send folks to have something you want them to discuss in the breakout rooms in particular?
Yeah. So in your breakout rooms, I want you all to discuss what resonated with you during this keynote. What stood out to you, what resonated to you? And then the second thing I want you all to discuss is, what do you hope to gain from participating in the racial justice training calendar? What stood out to you? And what do you hope to gain from the training calendar? All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hopefully you all had a good discussion. We just wanted to take some time to answer just 2 questions for us. The first one that we'll look at is, what stood out to you, what resonated with you from that keynote that I just gave? It could have reminded you of something that happened in your childhood or an idea that you had, whatever that is. Let's do a little bit of a reflection after that. And so what we're going to do is, the structure is, if you could put your name in the chat box to let us know you want to speak, that would actually create a little bit more organization there. Let's try that on. And so Alexis will help me out by just naming the person who'd like to speak first. And if you can speak through your microphone and just say whatever it is you want to say in regards to reflecting to that keynote, that would be great.
All right, so first up is Kyla Bunkley.
Hi.
Hey, Kyla.
Hi. So one thing that I had mentioned was that your delivery, I feel like sometimes, especially with COVID going on, it can be hard to try to engage the audience. And you always want to make sure that, you can make sure that the audience is being attentive. And then also just making sure that you're able to resonate with everyone, even if it's like one small sentence or, or an example here, an example there. So I feel like you did that really well by, keeping everyone, I guess, a part of it without making it too specific or isolated.
That's good. Thank you so much. I'm a presentation designer by trade. And so I've been designing presentations for 10 years. And so I'm bringing all of that experience really to help us have these conversations in the way that folks who know a lot about racial justice can add value and learn something. And those of us who maybe don't know a lot at all can also add value and learn something. And so we're going to try and strike that balance of just making sure folks can learn, contribute, and that we can all create a safe space for us. I like to say, a space is safe when folks can rebound from the mistakes they make. You show up ignorant, like you don't know something, or you make a mistake. I want a space for us where we can rebound from that. We can choose to forgive, assume best intention, and also keep learning with each other. That's the intention for each of these trainings. Thank you for mentioning that.
No problem.
Excellent. Thanks, Kyla. All right, next up, if I say anyone's name wrong, please correct me. But this is, I believe, Alyssa, and there is no last name. So.
Oh, hi, I'm Alyssa. So I, something that stood out to me was you used a couple of phrases that when I think of them negatively. Like I've never thought of them in a positive way. So stay in your lane is something that I've heard as kind of like a women need to stay in the kitchen kind of type phrase, like used in that way. So I've never heard of it used in like a positive light. And then kind of smaller was just like accomplice, like that just has like a negative connotation to me for whatever reason. And so I thought it was kind of interesting that was one, like those two things stood out to me, that you chose those specific phrases to use. So.
Yeah, and thank you for that. You're going to notice a lot that we use different words as this racial justice field is evolving. I also have a background in organizing as well. And so when we talk about staying in our lane, there's this huge need for folks to organize where they're most effective. And sometimes we get this idea that we can do it all. It's like, no, you got to be able to balance your presence in this work, right? And so that's critically important. I also want to invite you all throughout our trainings, if any one of us uses terms that we may use differently in our communities or from our background, let's unpack them, right? I'm always open to using new, better, and more appropriate terms. That's why I've mentioned some of the privileges that I have, because I know I show up ignorant in a lot of spaces, and I want to make sure I'm always in a position to learn. So thank you for that. Hopefully they weren't, I didn't use any offensive words today, but also I'm really glad that you were able to take some of those terms and see that they can actually be used in a positive light. Sometimes it's not the word we're using, sometimes it's the context for which we use the word that can also matter. But unpacking them is most important, so thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up, I believe it is Anna Sellers.
Pretty much everything that you spoke about resonated with me, and I really liked the story, comparison with the servant and king.
Yeah.
And the sundown thing really stuck out most for me because it made me think about being a kid and, you know, parents always, you know, telling us be in before the street lights come on. And so it's like, okay, does that have like some type of, you know, correlation with each other? Like that term being used for that and for our parents. So it kind of made me think about that. So, yeah.
That's really cool you mentioned that. We'll actually dig a little bit deeper. In the first training title, This is a White Man's World, we actually unpack that whiteness framework, right? And in doing that, we'll begin to look at the way people use housing as a way to control populations. And one of those ways that they did that with sundown towns, not only did they do racial cleansing, but like get Black folks out, but they created their own barricades, right? So we'll look at how that impacts, and we'll be able to understand how that impacts how Black folks and even other people of color, indigenous folks, Asian folks begin to build community. And what are those traditions, those rules of engagement that we've adopted that we don't realize maybe have come from some other place, right? That's critically important. And what I like to look at and think about is that both white folks and other folks of color, we all do it. We all engage in some sort of behavior, like you said, that we didn't realize came from somewhere. That work is a part of this work as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. So someone not new to you, Jeremy, is Shavonda.
Hi, I just was not going to miss an opportunity to shout out one of my favorite Public Allies alum. Jeremy was a first year when I was a fellow. I fall further in love with Jeremy every time he speaks. Favorite facilitator, favorite speaker, one of my favorite people. So I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to to fill the space with some love for you.
Oh, thank you, Savannah. I love you, sis.
Awesome. With that, Jeremy, do you want to switch to the second question or do you want to keep going with this one? Okay.
Did you all have any questions specifically about the training calendar?
Jeremy, they probably haven't seen the training calendar yet, so we will be sharing that in the next moment after you get done speaking.
Nice. And are there any other reflections, thoughts, or questions for me?
We've got Angie Haney, I believe.
Yes. So I just wanted to tell you thank you. As a first year, I really found your message powerful and inspiring, especially because I feel like I'm having a tough time at my placement. And just to hear your message inspired me because I have this personality that always wants not change right away, but I want to change someone. And just to hear you say that you go in with the lens of being a server, not a savior. Like I really needed to hear that. That's probably something I struggle with my entire life. And to hear that kind of put me in a place like, okay, Angie, you can do this. Like you can't change everyone, but you can definitely provide some resources and be part of a collective. And I just want to thank you. I really appreciate the message.
No, thank you for sharing that. You know, if I could share another story just briefly, I was working with a lady in her 30s. She had experienced some incarceration in her past, and she identified as a lesbian, African-American. And when she began to work with our team, there was a lot of things that she realized were wrong, right? One of the things about being diverse and making something inclusive is that you're going to get perspectives that contradict your truth. You think it's dope around here and they're going to listen. We got a long way to go, right? And so that's what she showed up with. She said, listen, things need to change. I see this, I see that, I see this. And one of the things she and I talked about after she was using her voice and she was really frustrated. And I said, don't ever be frustrated at the value you add. And she says, what do you mean? And I say, listen, it's a gift to actually see something and say, I know how to fix it. The burden is helping people come along with you. And so many of us, we show up in service and we have that eye for how to fix, how to change, how to improve. But we run into the reality that folks aren't moving as fast as we're trying to move. And I want to encourage all of us to remember that you add value because of your perspective. But we have to be, what I like to say is, patiently persistent. Patiently persistent. Come into a space where we have to remind ourselves, you know what? I'm going to be persistent. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to always speak my voice. I'm going to find new ways to get the message across, but I'm also going to hold myself accountable to being patient, recognizing that this work is a lifelong journey, not a moment in time. So thank you for sharing that. It's a struggle that even I have today.
So I think that is a great point to cut off the discussion, unfortunately. I mean, that was a great closing remark, and I think it's a great segue.
I just want to say, Jeremy, thank you so very much for speaking with us today and for just the leadership you're going to show. And we're really looking forward to the training series that's going to be starting. And the first part of the session is going to start on November 20th. And then for everybody, my name is Kyle Clower. I'm with Serve Wisconsin, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the training series that we're going to be doing with Jeremy from now through the end of May. And so I'll put this up on the screen for you. So as you can see, we have, if you'd like to participate, there's going to be a website you're able to join. And so our website page for this, the information is going to be on the Serve Wisconsin website under our AmeriCorps tab at the top of the page. And I posted the links into the chat, and I'll post them in again. And right now, our website, and there's the racial justice training, that page is going to have all the information on the individual sessions. Eventually, we'll be posting the recordings there. If you want to participate in the sessions, you're going to want to register for the training. There's a link on the website there. It's also on the screen, and I'm going to put it in the chat again for everybody. But that's able to join with us. There are 7 different trainings, and as a part of the trainings, there'll be the trainings afterwards. There's going to be reflection materials, other follow-up video materials, other pieces. And so we're really excited to be doing this year with everybody. If you're unable to attend one of the sessions in person, like I said, we'll also post the recordings on the website for people to watch. And if you have any questions on the series, please feel free to reach out to me about the training series. It's going to be Kyle Clower. And we're just really looking forward to people participating in the training this year. And just want to thank Jeremy once again for helping us kick it off today. And so what I'm excited to do now is to introduce our next guest speaker. Our next guest speaker is going to be Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who will be leading you in the AmeriCorps Pledge this morning. Lieutenant Governor Barnes has been a strong advocate for the power of service during his time in the Wisconsin State Assembly, as well as since being elected Lieutenant Governor in 2018. We've been very fortunate to have Lieutenant Governor join us for several activities and events over the last few years. For the last 2 years, he's joined with AmeriCorps members from several programs in participating in the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service in Milwaukee with various different events. And we were also very happy to have him join us last year at our 25th anniversary celebration, celebrating the anniversary of AmeriCorps here in Wisconsin. And we just want to thank Lieutenant Governor for all of his service and for his commitment to making a difference for the life of others. And so let me go ahead and take us over to the Lieutenant Governor.
Hey, AmeriCorps members. I'm Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, and I am so glad to be joining your open ceremony virtually this year. Now, I just want to share a message with you all today, just to say thank you so much for committing to serve local communities in all corners of our state and to make a difference for so many people in numerous ways throughout Wisconsin this year and all others. As Lieutenant Governor, I've been able to personally witness the significant impacts that AmeriCorps members have had throughout our state. I've seen you all make improvements at schools during multiple MLK Days of Service projects, and I've seen the difference that AmeriCorps members have made by visiting disaster recovery sites and also helping communities recover from storm damage. And over these last several months, I've gained an even greater appreciation for the service that the over 1,000 AmeriCorps service members serving in Wisconsin do each year through the invaluable service that you've all performed responding to the many challenges of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, since the beginning of this pandemic, we've seen AmeriCorps members complete well over 200,000 hours of service. You have worked to provide assistance to students who are engaged in virtual learning. You all have packed and distributed meals to children and families who've been facing food insecurity, many for the first times in their life. You've made and you've passed out masks so that people in our communities across the state could keep each other safe from the spread of this virus, and for that we say thank you. You've also helped people access health care, find resources to assist their families. You've also answered calls at 211 when people just didn't know where else they could turn. Overall, you have shown the diligence and determination to just get things done for people and to keep making a difference in the lives of your fellow Wisconsinites. We have far too many gaps in our health, education, and economic systems, and COVID-19 has only made that more abundantly clear. But that's exactly why your service work is so critical. So as we work to close those gaps and eventually rebuild those systems to be more equitable and sustainable, we need people on the ground helping those who can't meet their needs. So to help guide you in your service journey this year, I would like to lead you all in the AmeriCorps Pledge. And if you all will repeat after me, I will get things done for America. To make our people safer, smarter, and healthier. I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities. Faced with apathy, I will take action. Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground. Faced with adversity, I will persevere. I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. I am an AmeriCorps member, and I will get things done. Can't wait to see the impact that each of you will have through your service here this year. As we continue to weather this crisis, you'll be doing even more important work than ever before to improve the lives of people all across Wisconsin. So thank you all again for your service, and please go get things done for the people of Wisconsin this year. And I'll be right here cheering you on.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, for those remarks, and thank you all for attending. I want to thank all of our speakers, especially our AmeriCorps alumni speakers, and I know you guys are just all starting your year of service, but I hope you find that how our alumni are continuing to serve our communities far after their years of service inspiring. And I hope as you're planning for your year after service, you keep their inspiration and service in mind as a guiding point for your future plans. And normally at the end of our opening ceremonies, we like to give all of our members a AmeriCorps jacket and a t-shirt and maybe a hat. This year we're giving you a virtual one. No, just kidding. We are all getting a real jacket and t-shirt. Your program directors will be giving it to you out at a later date. They're a little delayed this year because I'm sure many of you are aware AmeriCorps has changed the logo, so they'll all have the new AmeriCorps logo on them. So we are sorry we couldn't meet in person and give you your gear in person, but thank you for joining us again, and thank you again for serving this year, and I cannot wait to hear about what you will accomplish over this coming year. Take care and stay healthy, and thanks for joining us. Goodbye. Have a good day and a great year of service.
Bye, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.